What's up, y'all? If y'all were watching this yesterday, you would be aware that because I am a 30-year-old boomer that does not know how to use computers and other such technology very well, Comrade Arun actually wanted to talk a bit about some recent happenings in Sri Lanka. But again, me being a boomer, I didn't know how to bring him on to the software that I was using yesterday. So I'm a man of my word, and I'm a big advocate of fellow oppressed and colonized people speaking their bitterness and educating people about stuff that has happened in in the rest of the world. Because, like, we as Americans, I say this as lovingly as possible, we tend to be very ignorant about issues and situations that have taken place in the rest of the world. We tend to silo ourselves off into our own little bubbles and not educate ourselves. So there's no excuse for that because we live in the internet age. And to that end, comrade, can I call you comrade?
Yeah, sure. I have no problem with whatever.
I call everybody comrade. But anyways, Comrade Arun is here with us tonight. He is um, the mind and the voice behind this very good documentary. It's called Grief Stricken Wins. And as you see, there's a very strong content warning. It contains historical events that viewers may find traumatizing or deeply disturbing. Viewer discretion is highly advised, but we're all adults here, and most of you are communists, and communists believe in speaking the truth as it exists and educating ourselves. So let's get a few minutes of this. Let's see, like, the context in which this discussion is going to be taking place.
שנועדו להיות נתיבי חדירה לישראל, אלא גם את אלו שנועדו להיות מקומות מסתור למחבלים. אני אומר לראשי הטרור, אתם לא יכולים להתחבר.
שמענו השבוע בתקשורת כל מיני...
Every time I see this guy, he's just so cartoonishly evil looking. Like, I cannot believe that this man has actual power. And just the shit that he says, it just flabbergasts me. Like, we live in the Boondocks universe. That's the only way I can describe it. Like, how the fuck is this guy a guy that looks like this, one of the most evil people in the world? What's the title about? You will find out.
הדלפות ותדרוכים עם מספרים מופרזים והזויים של מה שישראל...
Massacres, bombing of hospitals, deprivation of aid, calling civilians terrorists and terrorists civilians, human shields, bombing safe zones, assassinating leaders, and far more. Death and destruction inundate the atmosphere, and no one knows when the army will claim your life. Every second there's a chance that a bomb could drop, and within seconds, your mom, dad, uncle, aunt, sibling, child, and your own life could be robbed from you. Welcome to the Pearl of the Indian Ocean, Sri Lanka, in the year 2009.
את העמידה התקיפה.
Okay, just a thing. So the Benjamin Netanyahu and Itamar Ben Gvir didn't actually say it. The quotes that you're saying on the screen, but the point is they could have said it. That's the point that I'm trying to convey here.
Gotcha. That's what I get for not knowing Hebrew.
Yeah. Oh, you know Hebrew?
Oh, hell no. I said that's what I get for not knowing Hebrew.
Oh, okay.
I have no reason to know Hebrew. I am a red-blooded Black American dude. I have no reason to know that guttural language.
אבל עדיין עסקה מופקרת.
Mass murder, bombing of hospitals, deprivation of aid, calling civilians terrorists and terrorists civilians. The situation is bleak to say the least, but the world ahead will no longer be the same. and we can be more than sure that the same horrors will not repeat. That's what the Tamils experiencing Sri Lanka's crimes against humanity had hoped 15 years prior. But now, amidst the atrocities in Gaza, they see the same acts repeating. This may surprise you, but every tactic being used in Gaza right now was used in Sri Lanka, studied by the world, and employed elsewhere. Sri Lanka gives us an idea of what might happen next in Palestine, as the atrocities and cultural erasure against the Tamil people in Sri Lanka continue to occur unabated. No lessons learned, no reconciliation.
All right, so comrade, like, what is the deal here? Like, why did so? Sri Lanka has two major ethnic groups, right? The Sinhala, who, if I understand it correctly, are like the ruling group on the island, and the Tamil. So, what's like? Why do these people hate the Tamils so much to the point where they are carrying out like this genocide?
So there's actually four major ethnic groups on the island. So the first one is the Sinhalese or the Sinhala, and the majority of Sinhala and Sinhalese people are Buddhists. They're Theravada Buddhists. The second one are they're one group of Tamils called, depends on who you ask, but on Wikipedia they're listed as Sri Lankan Tamils. But most Tamils would probably disagree with that designation. They would call themselves Eelam Tamils because they hate Sri Lanka. The third group of people are Muslims. Yeah, these are the people. They're called Yila Tamils, right? Yeah, so there are Sri Lankan Tamils are called Eelam Tamils. That's the Eelam Tamil is actually the Eelam Tamil is actually the preferred designation for a lot of people. Because it's like calling these guys Sri Lankan Tamils is like saying Israeli Arabs. So not a very great way of
or African Americans.
Yeah, that sort of thing. The third group of people are Sri Lanka's Muslim population, and it's kind of a mind fuck for a lot of Americans because we spend a lot of time saying that Muslims are not like a ethnic group or whatever. But in Sri Lanka, they're legally considered an ethnic group because, Muslims are a broader designation of various different ethnic groups. The largest one being the Ceylonese Moors, right? The Sri Lankan Moors. And these are the Tamil-speaking Muslims of the island that have been on the island for centuries at this point. They're the third, the Sri Lankan Moors are the third largest ethnic group on the island. They have a sort of interesting role in this genocide, which we'll get to at some point if we carry that out. And the fourth group of people are called the Hill or Malayaga Tamils, the Hill Tamils or the Indian Tamils of Sri Lanka, actually. And these are Indian Tamil laborers that were brought to the central highlands of Sri Lanka. Hill Tamils. These are the Indian Tamils of Sri Lanka. They're called the Malayaga Tamil, literally the hill country Tamils. So the genocide. So to answer your question, why does Sri Lanka or why does the Sinhalese Buddhist nationalists want to commit a genocide against the Tamils? The justification that they give is that this entire island of Sri Lanka is the Buddha's chosen land, and the Sinhalese are the chosen people of the Buddha, right? The Buddha specifically came to Sri Lanka, basically to grace their presence with them, and then the other thing is that they themselves portray themselves to be the first inhabitants of the island, which is actually not true. There's a group of people that predates both the Tamils and the Sinhalese, called the Vedas. But the long story short is, so the north and eastern coasts of the island are predominantly Tamils, right? So cities like Jaffna, Trincomalee, Batticaloa, Mannar, Mullaitivu, so on and so forth, all of those cities along the northern and eastern coast have always been predominantly Tamil for the past 100 years or so, for at least the past several hundred years, if not thousands of years at this point. So the Sinhalese have not been a majority in those portions for a very long time. And they see this as a problem. So because they think the Sinhalese Buddhist nationalists think this is a problem because they think the entire island belongs to the Sinhalese. So their goal is to basically kick the Tamils out and push them back to Tamil Nadu. They see the Tamils as basically invaders to their homeland. And that's why they're hell-bent on wiping out the Tamils, basically, because they think the entire island belongs to them.
So you've got basically four ethnic groups on this smaller island, right? And one of them literally believes that Buddha came down and said that, you know what, this island is just for you guys, and you guys are my chosen people. And because of this myth, they decided they just wanted to get up and start murdering people. That sounds incredibly familiar.
I'm oversimplifying the story, but yes, that is basically it, right?
That is nuts.
There's a book, like a 1,500-year-old book called the Mahavamsa. M-A-H-A.
How do you? Can you spell that, please?
Yeah, I'll put it in the. Yeah, this is what it's called, the Mahavamsa. It's in the private chat.
All right, thanks, man. I'm sorry, I do not.
No, it's fine. The names are gonna get hard to say. It's fine.
Yeah. I'm a dumb Yankee. I do not know Sinhala Tamil words.
So this Mahavamsa book is basically Bhashana Bevardhana, a colleague of mine, basically says this is the Sinhalese Bible. Basically, the idea is it's a chronicle of how the Sinhalese got to the island. And it's a bunch of different stories about like how the Sinhalese got to the island, the ancestors of the Sinhalese, actually, because the Sinhalese identity didn't exist at this point in time, right? So yeah, so the material, so basically the Sinhalese as we know them today didn't exist at this point in time. They were speaking some form of Prakrit, right, which is Northern Indo-Aryan language, right? So they were eventually the language would evolve to become what we now know as Sinhalese under a lot of Tamil influence, actually, right? But this story basically says there's a particular story here where there's a king called Dutagamanu. Dutagamanu is basically what you would call him a Sinhalese king now, Sinhalese Buddhist king now, but he was basically fighting off a Tamil Chola king called Yalalan, who existed who basically conquered the island in 200 BC, something like that. And so this is propagated as a story on the island as the time-honored story of the Sinhalese driving away Tamil invaders. This is like the nationalist propaganda that is like pumped out in Sri Lanka. Basically, this entire thing is basically set up to be like the Sinhalese were always under attack from the Tamil South Indians, and this genocide is the only way us Sinhalese people can defend ourselves from the Tamil invaders. So they see that the Tamil portions of the island are basically a historical loss. Like they see it they see the Tamils living in the northern portions of the island as like a civilizational loss or a civilizational L that they took some time ago, and that their lifelong goal or their civilizational goal is to reclaim that glory for the Sinhalese at some point.
That is, and you know the thing, this is just a demonstration of how ignorant Americans are. Like, if you ask any American about like what do they know about Buddhism, like they'll immediately say, "Oh, it's a religion of peace," and stuff like that. It's like we have all this whole shit, you know, the hippie trail, stuff like that. Like most of these people,
Myanmar and Sri Lanka throw that outside the window.
Yeah, but again, most Americans don't even know where Myanmar and Sri Lanka are. So, like, and it's just crazy to me. Like, you have a violently, barbarically ethno-nationalist movement that literally wants to purge hundreds of thousands, millions of people off the island to restore some hypothetical, mythical, ancient kingdom that did not exist. And yet you come to the United States, you have Americans saying, "Oh yeah, the Buddhists didn't do anything right. They're religion of peace." Same thing with Hinduism. Like most of these people don't know what Hinduism is. They love Modi. They're like, "Oh yeah, oh yeah." It's like this is what happens when you don't study. But like, and I wonder like how much of this is actually propagated by the ruling class in all three countries to like carry forth. I mean, like what I don't know to like what extent the Americans propagated or helped this bullshit take place in Sri Lanka, but knowing America,
America didn't have to do anything. They like in the eyes of most Americans, Sri Lanka is kind of an irrelevant country to begin with.
mm,
It's to much of the American population, it has been like it's just like it's not relevant to most Americans' daily lives, right? Whereas like with India, there's like an Indian diaspora population. There's living in the United States. There's very famous like uh, uh Tibet, Bhutan. I haven't even talked about Bhutan yet, by the way. That's a different thing.
Isn't let's say like if you say something like don't they like people make all types of jokes about North Korea? Oh my god, they make you get a certain type of haircut. But I found out something about Bhutan. Like they have color coordination. Like they make you wear certain types of clothes based on what your job or your class is. And like
Bhutan got away with ethnic cleansing.
Oh dear.
They literally ethnically they got rid of all the Lotsampa population within their borders. They did basically Trail of Tears style like open deportation.
Why do people keep getting away with this stuff?
It's because we don't talk about it. Well, I'm not gonna say that we don't talk about it. I'm not gonna say that talking about it will solve the problem. Of course not. I'm not stupid, but at the same time, like we're not even having this conversation. Which I feel like if we're not even having this conversation about Sri Lanka, then what are we doing here? Like there's never gonna be any real change. You know what I mean? This is like bare minimum at this point.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
It looks like you've got a hater in the chat, buddy.
Who? What do they say?
Don't listen to Aruna now. He is a problematic ally. He blocks Eelam. Look, I don't like people that like. I don't like people.
Yeah, no, I know. I know him. Don't listen to Aruna. No, he's a problematic ally. He blocks Eelam Tummels that constructively criticize him on Twitter, on YouTube. What?
I block people all the time.
Okay. Oh my god. Okay, dude.
Like, why would you? If you have a problem with somebody, like, why don't you just hit them up and be like, "This is what I don't like about you. This is how you can like." Why would you come on a thing? Why would you come on a stream or a show or something?
Listen, man. Listen, boss.
Why
listen.
Would you do that?
Listen. How about this? We let's have a private conversation about this, okay?
Yeah, talk to him in private. Don't come in here spamming shit in the chat. That's high school shit.
Like, yeah, no, I know this guy. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has issues with me. He has personal issues with me. It's fine. Right?
Yeah.
Whatever. The point is like, and again, what was I trying to say earlier before this? The point is that like people are just not having the point is that people just are not having this conversation to begin with. That's the thing. They're not having a conversation about what this is like the so many mass graves that are being uncovered right now is like huge, right? We've uncovered 40 graves, or sorry, 40 bodies, 42 bodies in Semani, yeah, and Semani is basically Semani is basically located in the Jaffna district area. Yeah, Semani, right? And like you would think that this should be like blaring news all over, like, yo, like these like this country that got away with decades upon decades of rape, genocide, even things like, necrophilia, right?
Wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah, no.
Necrophilia in its original sense.
Yes. Yeah, like
Oh
as
my
in the sexual
God.
assault of corpses, yes.
What? Bro.
Yeah, this is a documented phenomenon in the Sri Lankan army, yes.
Oh my God. So these people not just were going around doing these horrible things, but they were violating the bodies after they had made the corpses in the first place.
Yes.
That is remarkably sick. Has anybody like been held to account? Like, have people gotten in trouble
No.
for this shit? So
No.
these
There
people
hasn't
are
been an
literally,
investigation. No.
but there were people literally running around the island fucking corpses.
Yeah.
Like somebody needs to get in trouble for that. There's no
Yeah, the UN said,
Nuremberg
let's
trial.
investigate these war crimes, and Sri Lanka told them to fuck off 4 times. And
Oh
then
my
that's it.
God.
That's the end of the story.
Ugh. Well, that's something to sit with for your fucking 4th of July barbecue. What is wrong with these people?
I forgot what we were talking about before we got derailed. Before we got
You had a surprise guest.
yeah. We were talking about something. Mahavamsa. Yeah. So that's the reason they wanted. I mean, the ultimate reason is they think the entire fucking island belongs to them, and basically this is the kind of propaganda that is being pumped out in Sri Lanka every day, right? That no, this is our island. The Tamils don't belong here. They're at best guests and at worst invaders, so on and so forth. And this is the kind of propaganda that gets put out. Now, this should sound extremely familiar if you know what Israel is. Extremely familiar. That
See, it sounds familiar as it sounds familiar as a Black American. Like when you hear white people, like when white people have like a weird off-on relationship with minorities. They're like playing favorites with minorities. Like one day, Black people have been here since the Mayflower, and we helped build the country up. Then the next day, we're just lazy bums that just want to sit up and use up all the welfare, which is of course a myth. But one thing that I guess spans these genocidal type regimes, whether it be Sri Lanka, whether it be Israel, whether it be the United States, is that there's always an idiopolitical rationale that these settlers have told themselves and told to the people that they're like, this is why we're doing this to you. Like
no. So actually, it's funny you bring up. Okay, so basically, let me give you a quick timeline of it. I say it in the documentary, so if you're interested in watching it, I'll be the first to say it's not like the most perfect documentary. I'll be the first to say this. There's a lot that we had to cut out. There's a lot of stuff that we had to like trim down because of this. And the reason is Grief Stricken Winds is basically meant to be a condensation of basically all the major events that happened in quote unquote post-colonial Sri Lankan history, leading up to today, right? So and by the way, the genocide is still ongoing, just for the record, in case you didn't know.
They were putting people in white vans?
Yeah. Yeah, that's so yeah. So they would, so I mean, the long story short is that especially during the 2000s, the early 2000s to the 2010s, one of the most common phenomena did you play is the thing on mute, or are you just playing it?
Yeah, I didn't want it to
No, it's okay. It's okay.
I didn't want it to.
No, I'll continue. It's fine.
Good.
So during the early 2000s to 2010s, one of the things that the Sri Lankan, CID, that is the Crime Investigation Division, as well as the Terrorism Investigation Division would do, is that they would basically go around in these white vans and basically pick up anyone that they considered to be a threat to the state. And most of these people ended up being Tamils. Most of them are Tamils for obvious reasons, because again, they viewed Tamils in general as a threat, because the LTTE, being a resistance group, was the only threat that was actually fighting the Sri Lankan state. The LTTE, the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, right? They are the only group.
Holy shit! Look at that flag.
Yep.
That is dope.
One of the hardest flags in existence by far.
As an amateur vexillologist, yeah, it has all of the elements of a dope ass flag.
Yeah, this is one of the hardest flags in existence. I say that. In my opinion, it is the hardest flag in existence.
There's one from Benin that is basically a dude cutting off another dude's head, but this is up there.
Yeah. This is Kyrgyzstan? No, it's not Kyrgyzstan. Is Tamil Eelam. That is the flag of Tamil Eelam. So long story short, what was I saying? So they were basically picking up Tamils in these white vans and they were disappearing them. And basically, we would never hear from them again. And they would just pick up people that they just said were LTTE, that were associated with the LTTE. Didn't matter what connection that they had to the LTTE or not. They would just pick them. They would just pick them up and disappear them. And one of the drivers of these white vans came out and said that, yeah, by the way, they would torture them, kill them, rape them, and then feed them to crocodiles, like as crocodile food.
That is remarkably similar to the whole alligator Auschwitz thing they've got going on down in Florida. Like, then like another thing, they used to use black babies as like the settlers, the white people, they would go out and hunt alligators, and they would use they would like literally set a little black baby on the bank, and of course this was during the slavery era. But they would, if the alligator ate the baby up, they would pay the only $2. Like cruelty and barbarism span.
That is the entire definition of the Sri Lankan state. There is no other real definition of the Sri Lankan state whatsoever. It is just nothing but cruelty and barbarism. So so basically the long story short is in 1948, Ceylon gets independence. Now it's not called Sri Lanka. It doesn't change its name to Sri Lanka. In fact, the name Sri Lanka itself is kind of it's a name that was propagated by Sinhalese Buddhist nationalists to begin with in 1956 to 1958. Right? So Sri Lanka is actually a name that these Nazis were basically 100% pushing for. So actually the reason that we call this country Sri Lanka is because the Nazis won.
So the real name is Tamil Eelam or Ceylon.
No. So Ceylon is you can either call, just don't like there. It's kind of useless to call it call the country anything other than Sri Lanka at this point. But you can say like Ceylon, and that will piss a lot of these guys off. Or Lanka, just plain Lanka. That'll piss them off. But it doesn't. Isn't Ceylon the Portuguese name? Yeah, Ceylon is Ceylon is a Portuguese corruption of the word Sinhalam. It's Sinhala. It's Ceylon comes from Sinhala. So even then, it's kind of.
Why can't white people pronounce shit?
Listen, I prefer that they mangled the name of this, to be fair. So this is one of those cases where I'm like, the mispronunciation's cool. I'm cool with it. But the long story short is Ceylon gets independence in 1948. Now what happens is, unlike in India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, where there have been like massive, you could say like violent revolutionary action against the British in the form of people like Bhagat Singh and Quili, Velu Nachiyar, and all these different, all these different either leaders or freedom fighters or whatever. In Sri Lanka, that doesn't happen. Now, in India, to be fair, all the leaders in India are also comprador bourgeoisie, to be fair. But in Sri Lanka, it's an acute case of this. So what happens is the British basically hands control of the island to a guy called D.S. Senanayake, who becomes the first prime minister of Sri Lanka. And as soon as D.S. Senanayake becomes the prime minister of Sri Lanka, he immediately starts launching settler colonial projects in Eelam. So the first one is in Ampara district. One of the first ones is in what is now Ampara district in this thing called the Galoya Valley. I'll give you, let me here. DS Sena Nayaka. This is the guy you're looking for. So this guy is basically the David Ben-Gurion, and actually one of the Sri Lankan bureaucrats, Malinga Gunaratna, who served, I think, in Bandaranaike, Sirima Bandaranaike's administration. Yeah, this guy. He's the first. Yeah, his name is Don Stephen Senanaika. This guy basically launches settler colonial projects right into the Tamil-dominated portions of the island. One of them is called the Galoya Valley, or one of them is called the Galoya Project, and it's smack dab in Galoya Valley in what was then Badikalo district. Badikalo district was majority Tamil, right? But what they did is they specifically implanted Sinhalese settlers, and they armed them, and they put them into this Galoya Valley in the southeastern portion of the island, specifically, and they set up this town called Ampara to house the Galoya dam workers. And at the same time, they also start colonizing Trincomalee district, which is 2 districts up, or which is the north, like a district up from there. And Galoya scheme, that's it. Yes. So the Galoya scheme, this river right here, right?
It's pretty.
Senanaika Samudraya. Yep. So this Galoya.
This guy loved naming shit after himself. I found like 3 things that somebody named after him or he named after himself.
He's considered to be the founder of the country. That's why.
Yeah. So,
I mean, he is the David Ben-Gurion of Sri Lanka. Yeah. So this guy basically, he starts a settler colonial project in basically eastern Eelam, which is Trincomalee district, Badikalo district, and in southern Badikalo district especially. And 1956 anti-Tamil pogrom happens, right? So you have lots of these Tamil colonies set up in the the Sinhalese colonies set up in the east, right? Now what happens is, in 1956, they also displace the Tamils. Like this is, imagine a West Bank style scenario where they just displace the Tamils. This is basically it, right? It's the same thing, right? So in 1956, what happens is SWRD Bandaranaike, so it's no longer DS Senanaika, it's the 4th Prime Minister, SWRD, that's Solomon West Ridgeway DS Bandaranaike.
What the fuck? Wait a minute. Solomon West Ridgeway DS Bandaran. Why do these people love colonizer names so much?
I mean, does it really need spelling out? Like these guys, like... when I said they were comprador bourgeoisie, I wasn't joking.
Solomon West Ridgeway Diaz Bandaranaike. Holy shit. Bruh. And I'm like, are these people like half Europeans? No, you just named your kid that.
This dude comes from a very affluent Sinhalese Christian family as well. So this dude didn't even... The funny thing is, this fucker didn't even speak a lick of the Sinhalese language until later on in his life.
So his first language was English?
Yeah, it was English. He comes from a well-to-do Sinhalese family.
The bro's name is Sword. Jesus Christ. That's a name for you.
Yeah, I mean, so this jackass, there's no other way of saying it, this jackass passes a bill called the Official Language Act, which is actually called this. I mean, is colloquially known as the Sinhala Only Act. Yeah, it's called the Official Language Act officially, but it's referred to as the Sinhala Only Act, which basically says no, the official language of the island is going to be the Sinhala language. Right now, they framed it as an anti-colonial move, and to say, you know what, fuck English, we're going to make the quote unquote native language of the entire island, wink, wink, which is, again, coincidentally enough, Sinhalese. to be the official language, and we're going to exclude Tamil from this list. So Tamils were basically made effectively illiterate in 1956.
But Tamil were there too. Like, if you're going to have like a genuinely decolonial, like if you look at the countries in Africa, like basically every minority ethnic group has like their language has official recognition. Like for example, Burkina Faso, there's various types. You've got the Mosi, you've got the Fulani. Like all of them have the right to use their language. Like you can't just take one group of people and be like, okay, this is what everybody is going to speak now. No more Tamil, no more anything else. But or like that's basically setting the stage for cultural genocide, which lays the foundations for like literal genocide. Like they did the same thing to the indigenous people here in the United States. Like if you're a Sioux, like they're not going to let you speak your language. They make you go to a residential school where you're going to be tortured, raped, all other types of fucked up shit. They're going to cut your hair. You can't wear your clothes anymore, and they basically try to turn you into good little dark skinned white people. Like that's cultural genocide. This shit is crazy. It's just like a conga line of horrible shit. It's no wonder it's no wonder this shit gave rise to a resistance movement.
Oh, I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. So this
It's your
basically
show, bro.
sparks. So this sparks protests from the Tamil side, and that Tamil side is basically met with violence. It's met with massacres, and roughly 100 Tamils were slaughtered in the 1956 anti-Tamil pogroms. So, and then 2 years after that, there's another pogrom that happened, 1958 Tamil pogroms. And again, it's also because, again, it like several Tamils were, 1958 Tamil pogrom, anti-Tamil pogroms. Yeah. The 58 riots, quote unquote, to target the minority of Tamils. Yeah. So this is the second. There's like 4 anti-Tamil five. Actually, there's plenty, to be fair, that don't get called anti-Tamil pogroms, quote unquote. There's the 1974 World Tamil Conference Day massacre, where police literally went in to a conference about basically the Tamil language that was being held in Jaffna and literally just slaughtered 1950. No, it's in 1974. It's not here. So in 1974, they basically be careful clicking on Black July. In 19 like there, so going back to 1956, 1958. Long story short, while these anti-Tamil pogroms are happening, you also have, again, ongoing settler colonialism. You have Sinhalese Buddhist nationalist settlers going into these Tamil areas and setting up camp there, setting up colonies there. And then in 1961, the Galoya project that we mentioned earlier had enough quote unquote Sinhalese there where the Sri Lankan government felt comfortable enough saying, okay, we're going to cleave this new district called Ampara district away from Badikalo. Right? We're going to cleave that away from Badikalo district. And as it turns out, before the colonies, the largest minority in Ampara district were the Tamils, were the Eelam Tamils. Now, after the cleaving of Ampara district, magically, after the Sinhalese settlers came into Ampara district or Badikalo district, magically the largest minority are Sinhalese. And by the way, the capital of this new Ampara district, Ampara city, is 99% Sinhalese. Ampara district, yeah. Not Ampara electoral district. There's this is it. Ampara district.
I'm learning a whole new language today, my friend. And I'm just amazed at how like all of this chaos took place in such a beautiful country.
Yes, the Tamil guerrilla is saying yes. In a good chunk of the anti-Tamil pogroms you saw in 1956 and 1958, most of the people that were doing the massacres were these settlers in Galoya.
My God.
So much of the violence against the Tamils, much of the anti-Tamil violence happened in these settler colonies.
Mm.
So they were basically armed by the Sri Lankan government, sent into these areas, and specifically to basically, quote unquote, reclaim this as their Buddhist land.
And basically just fuck everybody else that's already living there, kill them or drive them into the ocean or drive them into
Yes.
another part of the island. But either way, yeah, you're going to get the fuck out of here. This is our shit now. That was their justification.
Yes, because they see the entire island as theirs. That's the reason. And they still do, by the way. They still do.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed.
Yeah, from what I've seen in your documentary, ain't shit changed. And like you mentioned earlier, like the genocide is still going on. Like, but people tend to think that like when horrible stuff happens historically, like there's just like a little break where it's okay, this is done. Everybody's cool now. But like, no,
Nuremberg trials never happened in Sri Lanka. That never happened.
Yeah, because like I was just sitting there watching it, like, okay, you have people literally running around raping dead people and
those people are now back in regular society. Like, what do you mean? They were never prosecuted.
My God. Yeah, it's pretty similar to like a lot of the people that did the Ku Klux Klan type shit. The people that most of those people before they like even got arrested, they were like 90 years old.
There's a soldier. There's a Sri Lankan soldier by the name of Sunil Ratanaike who was basically put in jail. He was actually given the death penalty. For basically massacring, I believe it was like 7 people in 2000. And 3 of those were children. One of them was like a 5-year-old kid whose throat he slit.
Why would you slit a 5-year-old kid's throat?
Yeah, this is one of the few cases.
Baby.
This is one of the few cases where someone actually got in trouble for it, and he was actually supposed to serve the death sentence. We'll get to why he gets released in 2019. Or he gets released. He gets pardoned. He gets a presidential pardon in 2020, actually, by Gotabaya Rajapaksa.
So he participated in this
the Mirusuvu
bullshit.
Massacre. Yes, he participated in the Mirusuvu Massacre.
So they drove these people off their land, and then they went to go look at their land, and they were arrested. And
they were kidnapped, and murdered. They were disappeared and murdered, and then they were found in a mass grave next to an army camp.
They buried them next to the same camp that they came. So these were people that were operating with impunity. They were like, you know what? We can do whatever we want to these people because they're Tamil. And then we're going to show how little we give a fuck. We're just going to throw them in. We're going to throw them like right next to where we sleep. We're going to dig a grave and just throw them in a hole.
I want you to do one thing, Black Red Guard. Go to Wikipedia and then type in sexual violence against Tamils in Sri Lanka.
Oh, dear. Oh, it's the second result. This does not bode well. This has occurred repeatedly during the country's long ethnic conflict. The first instances of rape of Tamil women by Sinhalese mobs were documented during the 58 anti-Tamil pogrom. This continued in the 60s with the deployment of the Sri Lankan army in Jaffna, who were reported to have molested and occasionally raped Tamil women. This shit has its own Wikipedia page.
Yeah, uncollapse the things on the side, the decades on the side. Uncollapse that. Just keep doing it.
It gets longer and longer and longer. This is some sick shit. There's something for every year.
Yeah. Welcome.
There's something for every fucking year, bro. Like this seems to be basic Sri Lankan army practice.
It is.
So whenever you kidnap a woman, you must needs rape her too, apparently.
There's a case in London actually of a former Sri Lankan military police guy that got into trouble or that was arrested and put on trial for sexually assault. He was a masseuse, right? And he was put on trial for sexually assaulting one of his clientele.
Mm-hmm.
Now, his defense lawyer literally gave his defense by saying, basically saying, Your Honor, you need to understand when this guy was his name is Rasika Kobe Kaduwa. It doesn't matter. Like this is the reason I bring this up is to illustrate a broader point here. The defense lawyer literally told the judge, listen, you need to understand when he joined the military police in Sri Lanka, his job was to basically organize gang rapes of political dissenters. And so it is this training that led to the offense of him basically sexually assaulting his client.
So basically, he got addicted to this shit, and he's in a whole nother ass country doing a whole nother ass job, and he couldn't help but get back on his own bullshit.
I haven't mentioned this child sex trafficking ring they ran out of Sri Lanka, have I? Out of Haiti, excuse me. They ran a child sex trafficking ring out of Haiti.
What the fuck were they doing in Haiti? Were they like UN people or something?
Yeah, peacekeepers.
Bro.
Yeah, Sri Lanka is a prime peacekeeping feeder.
So they're not just doing this shit in Sri Lanka, but they're traveling around the world doing this shit. I'm surprised they haven't showed up in the IDF.
I'm surprised too.
And it wasn't just women. Like they did some fucked up shit to dudes too. These are just
the thing is that it's like the thing is they actually it's weird to say, but I don't know if they did it equally, but they also like raped men and boys like to a pretty considerable amount.
Bro,
like they did not discriminate like who they raped.
It takes a lot to phase me, but like these are some seriously fucked up people.
Yeah.
Like this is I've unfolded all of the uncollapsed all of these crimes, and this is like a long, very long look. I'm scrolling as fast as I can. Look all the way down. References. Like,
yeah,
bro. And again, these are.
This
Buddhists.
Is actually a more condensed version. It used to be longer than this.
Yeah, these are Buddhists, the religion of peace.
So so you get a basic idea of the kind of depravity that the Sri Lankan army was up to, right? That what they've been doing, what the Sri Lankan Sinhalese Buddhist nationalist mobs have been doing, what the Sri Lankan army was doing. You get a basic idea of what these guys were up to this entire time, right? So they've been engaging in settler colonization, which, by the way, USAID helped with, for the record. Like USAID helped, especially with the Mahaweli colonization project, which started in the 70s, originally under Simma Bandarika. So there have been multiple settler colonial projects, to be fair. So one is the Galoya project, one is the Kandalai project, another is the Alay project. Another is the you're not going to find it here. No. You're not going to find it on Wikipedia at all. It's an extremely obscure thing. Like only like people who really dig into like this history actually know what that is. So you had these several colonization schemes that happened against the Tamils. And then the big one was launched by Simma Bandarika, which is SWRD's wife, rather.
She was prime minister too?
She was prime minister. Their daughter was president and prime minister as well.
So this is like nepotism?
That's a theme. That's an ongoing theme. Bandaranaike.
This guy's
Bandaranaike family. Yeah, Bandaranaike family.
Whole fucking family of sickos.
Sirimavo Bandaranaike. Yeah, that's the third one.
Whole family of sickos.
Yeah, Sirimavo Bandaranaike comes into power. And then she also launches the Mahaweli project, the Mahaweli colonization project. And she's also basically responsible for renaming. I mean, she also basically brought, she turned Ceylon into Sri Lanka, basically.
Wait, are these people trying to claim that she was a socialist?
Sri Lanka's official name is the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka.
Oh, dear. I think DSA needs to change its name. We don't want to be affiliated with this shit. But again, she participated also in the genocide and xenocolonialism, while calling herself a socialist. That's maybe a bit of social fascism.
She's no, but this is also, by the way, Simma Bandarika is the world's first woman prime minister.
Mm. Oh,
So
if somebody killed her piece of shit husband.
Well, no, because they killed her husband because he wasn't radical enough.
What?
This is a what's his name?
A Buddhist priest killed him?
Yeah, because he wasn't radical enough. Yeah.
What did they want him? What exactly did they want him to do?
They wanted they wanted him to liquidate the Tamils, basically.
Oh, they wanted a fucking Holocaust.
Like immediately, yeah.
I thought these people would I thought this was the religion of peace, buddy. You killed your fascist prime minister because he was not fascist enough.
I mean, this also happened in India. Gandhi was assassinated by a guy called Nathuram Godse. Gandhi was a piece of shit in his own right. He was a deep casteist, he was racist, pervert, so on and so forth. But he was assassinated by a member of the RSS who thought he wasn't bigoted towards Muslims enough.
Yeah. The RSS still exists, by the way.
Exactly. They're the oldest, one of the oldest continuing fascist organizations aside from the KKK.
One thing I've noticed is that I don't know if this is like a trend or something, but the Sinhalese appear to be a lot lighter skinned than the Tamils. Is there like a colorist aspect here or something?
Well, to be fair, I don't think if you were to take a Tamil person and a Sinhalese person and put them together, I don't think you could tell them apart. If I'm going to be honest, right? They look basically the same, right? But the Sinhalese Buddhist nationalists think that they're Aryans. Like they think they're racially Aryans. Like they're the like Aryan master race, that sort of thing. And they think
but they look just like the Tamils.
Yeah, they look exactly like the Tamils. They think that they're some Aryan master race. The reason they think that is because Sinhalese is related to European languages. That's the reason.
Indo-European, yeah.
It's an Indo-European language. Yes, an Indo-European language. So that's why they think they're like, oh, so we're also Europeans, right? So,
if these people were to go to fucking London and run into a child, they would be called a Jeet and they would be beaten the fuck up.
Wait, I'm gonna show you a postage stamp that was issued in 2018 just to give you an idea of the dehumanization of Tamils. Let me see if I can find it. This is a mutual friend of mine. I highly recommend you go follow him. He's a mutual of mine on Twitter. His name is Mario Aruldas. I highly recommend you follow this guy.
Can you spell that for me, please?
I put the guy in the. His name is Mario Aruldas. This is a mutual of mine on Twitter. So what I put it in the private chat. So I have a question for Anon.
The fuck is this?
Okay, so that's a stamp issued in 2018.
This is the government that put this out?
Yes.
Bro.
Yeah. So the explanation gets worse because they issued a commemorative stamp set of sannyas and
demons,
demon exorcism rituals. And so all those stamps are basically like demon of spirits, demon of like madness, demon of like vomiting, so on and so forth. And then one of them is demon of Tamils.
So they basically consider y'all demons.
Yes. I said hey, I responded to this. I'm like, this is what your government is issuing. Like, and then some of them were like, you don't understand. This is a pre-Buddhist ritual. So we've been doing, basically the implication of that statement is like, we've been doing this for 1,000, like longer than we've been Buddhist for.
holding rituals to get rid of Tamils.
Yes. So they're making their case worse, basically. They're basically saying, no, you don't understand. It's not, this isn't Buddhist folklore. This predates Buddhism. So they're basically admitting that, no, bro, we've been racist for longer than we've been Buddhists.
They're also saying that, like, Tamils didn't invade because they've been there, like, if not longer, at least as long as the Sinhalese.
No, when the Tamils, quote unquote, invaded, it's a goalpost. It doesn't matter, right? So these guys will basically say, like, we don't know how long the Tamils have been there. As far as we know, Tamils have basically, the Tamils of the island are basically people that have lived on that island for a very long time, that have been Tamilized over time. That's our understanding of where the Eelam Tamil population comes from. They are basically the people on that island that have been living there for like thousands of years at this point, but similar to how, you know, what we consider to be Moroccans or Algerians later became Arabized over time, right? In a similar fashion, these people eventually ended up adopting the Tamil culture, and they eventually ended up adopting the Tamil culture of southern India at some point or another because of the Chola Empire and all these different empires that, you know, came through. And on top of that, they also had like their own sort of kingdom called the Jaffna Kingdom in the Middle Ages as well. Yeah, Mario Arudas is a very good person to follow on this. Mario Arudas, Tusi Nandakumar is also a great. I'll link his name here.
Let's find out some more about this kingdom. Jaffna
Kingdom. So Jaffna Kingdom is this kingdom that existed from 1200 to, you know, however long it was, like 1600 or whatever, right? And this is a Tamil kingdom that existed in the northern parts of the island.
Okay. Dr. Dusyananda Kumar, editor-in-chief of the Tamil Guardian.
Yep.
Oh.
His stuff is very dope. I also highly recommend, there's a person called Abhinaya Nathan, who I think also works. Abhinaya Nathan also works at Tamil Guardian, if I'm not mistaken.
Thank you for helping me with these names, Fred. I don't want to butcher your beautiful language. Abhinaya Nathan.
Abhinaya Nathan, yeah.
Yeah, I think, like, and when you say them, it makes a lot, like, it makes sense. But, like, my American brain is like, I'd have been put all the name together or some shit.
No, because so most Tamil names are actually just two words put together. So Selva Kumar is a great example of it. Nanda Kumar, it's two words put together. Okay. Right?
Yeah, I'm Anglo-brained, so.
That's why the names are super long. It's just two words that are put together. So Selvanayagam is a great example. Well, speaking of Selvanayagam, so basically you have these pogroms that are happening, and I'm oversimplifying it, but you get a sense of what the Sri Lankan government was, you know, up to. Mm-hmm. So I'm vastly oversimplifying it, but there's a party called the 12th Party, which is called the Tamil United Liberation Front, right? So and the founder, so it's founded by three people. One is Gigi Ponambalam, who's the grandfather of Gajendra Kumar Ponambalam. Yeah, Gigi Ponambalam is the grandfather of what's his name? Not Kumar. I think Kumar Ponambalam is his name. He's the guy who got assassinated by forces loyal to Chandrika Bandaranaike's family. And then you also have SJV Selvanayagam, Samuel James Velupule Selvanayagam. So this group basically comes about. The Tamil United Liberation Front, TULF, comes along.
So in Tamil, the CH, it's pronounced like an S.
It can be pronounced either as a CH or an S. So okay. So the way that Tamil language works is that Tamil doesn't actually have a separate letter for S natively. So the letter CH in certain positions in a word serves as an S. So when you write words like Arasangam, right? Arasangam means government. If you were to read it character by character, literally, it would be Arachangam, right? But because of the way the Tamil phonotactics works, that CH becomes a sa in the middle. So, but in many places, you can actually pronounce this CH at the beginning of a word as an S.
Okay, so that's why you said Selvanayakam.
You can say Selvanayagam or Chelvanayagam, both are fine.
Okay.
Which is why the K is also pronounced like a H or a G. Because it's in the middle of a word.
Okay. I like learning new languages. Or at least parts of new languages.
It's an old language. It's got like 2,000, 3,000 years of history behind it. Tamil's a very old language.
Yeah, whereas English, I think, only has like maybe 1,500. English is basically like German if you glommed a bunch of Latin and a bunch of French onto it.
Yeah.
Here you are rocking your 3,000-year-old language.
I mean, the thing is like Pharaohs actually like. The thing is like the Pharaohs actually had words that were borrowed from the Tamil language.
Wait, what?
Yeah, because for a long time, the Tamil kings, the Cholas, Cheras, and Pandyas, which date back who knows how long, right? They were basically, especially the Cholas, they were a thalassocratic kingdom. They basically thrived on trade. And in fact, it was these Tamil kings that originally introduced spices to originally the Mid East, the Swana region, right, the West Asia region, and then it got later propagated outside of that region to the Mediterranean overall and to China, so on and so forth. But the Tamil kings were the ones that actually made lots of money originally on spices.
So y'all had bans for days. So let me get this straight. So people have been arguing over whether the pharaohs of Egypt were black or white for centuries, and when they were really Tamil. Huh.
Yeah, a lot of bro sounding like every Tamil guy I know. Yeah, okay, dude.
Okay, no, it's like the Greeks and the Turks fighting over. No, we invented baklava. No, you didn't, Lanka. We invented baklava.
No, I mean some Tamils do take this a little bit too far, right? They're like, no, bro. Like, there are some Tamils that's a different discussion as to why that's the case, because that has more to do with like internal Indian politics, which we're not here to discuss, anyways.
Look, please do not start like an Indian a fucking
bro. Dinosaur spoke Tamil. Okay, yeah, that's what I'm memeing. Oak Chair. That's
do not start a Desi race war in my comments, please.
No, I know the meme. That's a meme. I clown on that all the time. I know that. No. So the long story short is SJV Selvanayagam. No disrespect to Arun, but I've heard Albanians say the same things as he's saying now. No, but no. It's not like that at all. But we do have a long literature. We have a long storied literature. That's the truth. That's real. Like, we have 1,000-year-old literature. That's a thing.
Yeah. I mean, that part of the world was like, for one, it was an independent cradle of civilization. And then like for two, like you mentioned earlier that the Sinhalese, the nationalists, the psychos, the people that are going around raping corpses and shit, like these people literally believe that they're Aryans. And Hitler and the Nazis, like they were really, really obsessed with India. As a matter of fact, if I recall correctly, one of his esoteric tutors was like a white person that was really, really obsessed with Hindutva occultism and stuff like that. I can't remember.
Savitri Devi.
There you go. Yeah.
Savitri Devi.
European.
No, okay. Speaking of the Nazis, by the way, Heinrich Himmler sent a 5-person team to go study the origins of the Aryan race. And the first place they sent it, the 5-team group to was none other than Colombo, the capital of Sri Lanka.
These are my people. We must relate to our people. Your ions.
Most people know about the Tibet leg of that tour, but they don't know about the Sri Lanka leg of that tour.
They were in Iran too, weren't they?
I think it was just India, Sri Lanka, and then Tibet. I think it was
I
it.
think. Yeah,
I think it was something like that.
Yeah.
But the long story short is SJV Selvanayagam, the man you're seeing here, he is known as Thandai Selva to the Ila Tamil community. He basically, along with the rest of the 12th party, says, no, enough is enough. And he basically says, no, the only solution to this, they signed basically a document called the Vatukote Resolution. And the Vatukote Resolution, Vatukote Tirmanam in Tamil, it basically calls for an independent Tamil Eelam, right? And this is in the wake of, he also signed several compromises with the Bandaranaike family and the Senanayake family to try and make Tamil the official language of the administration. He tried to basically work with the Sinhalese Buddhist nationalists. He tried to work with them.
I'm tripping off this. So you had these trots, the Lanka Sama Samaja
Party, yes, LSSP.
And you had the communists. Well, the
Communist Party Ceylon is, I think, Maoist party.
And they clicked up with the Sinhala nationalists.
Yes.
Oh, so the Maoists fucked you all over too, huh? Yikes.
Everyone did.
I'm sorry.
No, so the funny thing, go back for a second. So LSSP, the funny thing with LSSP, so they're actually the most successful Trotskyist party in existence.
Really?
They are. Because they actually managed to get workers' councils during Bandaranaike. I think it was Bandaranaike's rule. Right? They managed to get workers' council set up. But the cost of doing that is they had to basically be completely subordinate to the Bandaranaike's rule.
So what did they do? So did any of the communist formations, because Sri Lanka apparently has quite a few of these things. So
yeah,
did any of the communist organizations raise their arms in defense of the Tamil people during this genocide?
No, the CPI Maoist is not the same as the Ceylon Communist Party. CPI Maoist stood with the Tamils. If I'm not mistaken, if I understood this correctly, I'm pretty sure there's a split within CPI Maoist already. If I'm not mistaken, I think CPI Maoist actually had a split because of the intense amount of racism that the Sinhalese Maoists they exhibited towards the Tamils.
So you had Sinhalese Maoists that were on board with this Nazi shit?
Yes.
Oh dear.
There were CPI Maoist Tamils that stood with the Tamils, but I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, the Sinhalese Maoists 100% were anti-Tamil. But I could be wrong about that. I could totally be off base about that. That's my understanding of the CPI Maoist party.
That's fucked up. Like, generally the Maoists are pretty good in relation to ethnic minorities in their struggle for self-determination. But like
the thing is, there was a group originally that wasn't as hostile to the Tamils originally early on that was basically pissed off at. There's a split because of the ideology. Okay, I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong then. Okay, I chalk it up to Tamil guerrillas on this. I cede to Tamil guerrillas point on this. The response to the LSSP though later on was a party that is now currently in power, the JVP, Janata Vimukti Peramuna. Right? The JVP. And the JVP was effectively pissed off that the Lanka Sama Samaja Party, the LSSP, eventually started working with the bourgeois party. They started collaborating with the bourgeois party. And the JVP is actually composed primarily of marginalized caste Sinhalese. Because, surprise, surprise, the Sinhalese also have caste within their society. And half of the Sinhalese society is Govigama, their landlord caste, Sinhalese. And these were the people that were running Sri Lanka for the longest time. So all the Sena Nayakas, Bandar Nayakas, so on and so forth that you're seeing right here, even Disa Nayaka, they're all Govigama. They belong to this landlord caste. They were born to this landlord caste originally, right? So the JVP basically came out as a response to they came out as a response to what is basically what became a bourgeois party, and they started armed rebellions against the Sri Lankan government. Right? There was one in the early 70s, and then there was one in the late 80s. Now, during the early 70s, one in 1971, during this, they were actually not super hostile towards the Tamils. They were actually way more willing to, champion Tamil self-determination. But by the time it got to the second insurrection, the 1987 to 1989 Tamil insurrection, it had degenerated into a chauvinist organization. It basically turned into a Sinhalese Buddhist nationalist organization with a flavor of, communist aesthetics, basically. So, and the thing is, the JVP's founder, Rohana Wijewira, who was killed by the government in these anti-communist raids, in these anti-communist like slaughters.
Holy shit! Does he think he's Che Guevara?
He does. Now the thing is, Rohana Wijewira basically rationalized not supporting the Tamil self-determination, the Tamil nationalist self-determination cause, by basically claiming that the Tamil right to the Lenin's right to self-determination, Lenin's right of nations to self-determination, could not be applied to the Tamils in this case, and that the Tamil nationalists were a bourgeois reactionary ideology, and the only solution to the Tamils' problems is through a worker state.
A worker state in which the Sinhalese would immediately fall upon and massacre them.
Yes.
I've heard similar shit from Trots and other weirdos in the United States. Like, black people should not argue for our self-determination. We just have to trust the white working class. So
the JVP was already using racist slogans during its first insurrection. They spread false claims portraying plantation Tamils as invaders.
They're invading. Yes. They're working, picking fucking tea. How are they invaders?
No, because they were brought to Sri Lanka by the British as indentured servants. So these guys, we were talking about the Malayaka Tamil. Yeah, Anton Balasingham basically, who was the theoretician of the LTTE, basically the Tamil Eelam liberation struggle. Yeah, towards socialist Tamil Eelam, Anton Balasingham. He was the theoretician of the LTTE, of the Tamil nationalist movement.
Interesting.
This will probably, if I'm going to be honest, I might actually throw this back into the director's cut of part one. The Anton Ballas, the not just the Anton Ballasingham's critique, but I might throw this back. I might throw the mention of the JVP basically being psychotically racist towards the Malayaga Tamil population.
So if I understand this correctly, okay, so you had y'all. It's like this small island contains so many contradictions. Like you've got the one between the Sinhalese and the Tamil, and then you've got contradictions within the Sinhalese, like caste and class contradictions. Then you have a communist movement that has, like, at least from what I count, 3 or 4 major parties, half of which took up armed struggle. And
they took up armed struggle against the Sri Lankan state, but did not stand with the Tamils.
So basically, in the final analysis, they were all trash. Chauvinist trash.
Yes.
Yeah.
And these guys, the JVP would especially become much more vile later on, because in 2004, when the Boxing Day tsunami hit and devastated Eelam, basically, the JVP, there's a agreement called the P. Tom's Agreement, which was an agreement between CBK, Chandrika Bandaranaike, which is Sword's daughter, basically, who was president at this point in time, and the LTTE to basically distribute aid to the tsunami victims. Now, JVP basically threatened to walk out of this because they saw this as they tried to sabotage it, basically. The JVP absolutely tried to sabotage the PTOMS agreement because they saw it as a concession to the Tamils. They saw it as a concession to the LTTE, and that was unacceptable in their eyes because they saw even the so when the LTTE came out in 2003 and said, hey, listen, let's do an internal self-governing authority, basically give us autonomy within Tamil Eelam, right? We don't want a separate state in 2003. The JVP was still against that.
Yeah. Contradictions on top of contradictions. I'm really digging this this little manifesto from the Liberation Tigers. So I'm sorry, I'm still obsessed with that flag. But they seem to have a pretty developed line as well. It seems pretty Maoist inspired, actually.
Yeah, Anton Balasingham took lots of points from like this analysis that he has right here is 100% correct.
Okay. So I imagine this is like, yeah, I mean, they won me over with their flag, to be honest, but they also could win me over with their line. It's amazing. Like this small island, this beautiful island has had so much horrible shit taking place, and like Americans know absolutely nothing about this.
Well, I mean, that's exactly it, though.
Yeah,
that's exactly it, though. That's the point.
Yeah, because
Sri Lanka doesn't want you to know about this.
Yeah, and most Americans honestly don't want to know. Like if you ask an average American like what their stance on politics overseas is, like if you ask them where is Sri Lanka, they'll be like, "Oh, is that an island in the Caribbean? I want to go."
And like I've had to tell people that Sri Lanka is not India; it's a different country. Because when I talk about this, they say, "Oh, I love Gandhi" or whatever, and I'm like, "Okay, that's a different." There's a part of me that thinks like, oh, maybe they're like super tapped into Sri Lanka and Eelam politics. And they're basically saying, well, Gandhian movement, they're super into Taraki Sivaram or whatever. Right.
You give when I tell comrades with roots overseas is that like, do not assume that
no, I don't.
Americans even know what you like. A lot of comrades from overseas, they give Americans too much credit.
You give us too much credit. I understand.
Yeah. I can't help but remember. There was a poll that was conducted of Trump supporters, and the poll question was literally, "Should we bomb Agrabah? The place where Atlanta lives." Should we bomb this fictional country? And like, I think 75% of them voted yes. Like, these are just the bloodthirsty, mad people. I mean, technically they are my people. I'm an American, so are they. But like,
idiots.
This country is cooked. Yeah,
idiots as well. Like,
yeah, idiots. A massive, like, if there's ever to be a revolution in this country, there's going to have to be like a re-education program the likes of which the world has never seen.
Where were we before this? I forgot. Yeah, we were talking about anti-Tamil pogroms. So the Mahawali and these settler colonial programs keep encroaching upon Tamil land. And you have these anti-Tamil pogroms that are happening, right, against Tamils, and you have the Sri Lankan army that is deployed in the northern parts of the island, especially Jaffna, where they also continually rape Tamil women. And then
these people so fucking obsessed with raping people.
Rape is about power, is it not?
That is true, but like,
it's about exerting power over a victim. Yeah, and so what these guys want to do is they want to exert their quote unquote power over Tamils. That's the whole point of it. And if you actually read the accounts of what Tamils actually had to go through, the International Truth and Justice Project actually did a report on this, ITJP, where they actually did a report specifically on the accounts of male sexual violence done to Tamils, like Tamil men, basically. There's a report called Unsilenced on ITJP, and this is specifically just dedicated to sexual violence done towards Tamil men. And this entire report details like what kind of bullshit that it shows you what kind of torture and what kind of things that the Sri Lankan army said. So when they were sexually assaulting Tamil men, they would say like, "Oh, you tiger fuckers, you Tamils will always be slaves to the Sinhalese," or, "Oh yeah, you want your country so bad you have to bathe in my piss," something like that, right? Yeah, this is the report that I'm talking about here. Yes, Unsilenced. ITJP is a treasure trove of basically all the atrocities. Not all the atrocities, obviously, but it's a treasure trove of atrocities, documentation of the atrocities that the Sri Lankan government committed against the Tamils and continues to commit against the Tamils.
Oh dear. This seems to be. This is not just like they're talking about the DRC here, the Congo. Like this, like people believe that like this type of thing cannot happen to men, but no. It says that sexual violence gives the perpetrator a sense of hypermasculine identity, while at the same time compromising the masculine identity of the victim by subordinating and objectifying him. So yeah, it's like you said, it's about power. They did the same thing to black slaves in the United States.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like, look, you think you're a dude, you think you're a man, you can't even fucking defend yourself.
Yeah,
same thing.
It's the same thing here. There's a lot of ritualistic humiliation involved here. There's a lot of it goes to, like I don't think I can show you the level of depravity that the Sri Lankan government has engaged in against the Tamils.
I will take your word. I will take your word for it.
I don't think I can. Like there's just a lot going on here, right? So then Vatukote resolution gets signed. Tamil Eelam is a demand from the Tamil nationalists. And the long story short is that, again, the violence against Tamils continues, and then it begins to reach a head in 1981 when basically the Sri Lankan cops go into the Jaffna Public Library and torch the entire thing. And roughly 90...
Burn down the library?
They burned down the library containing priceless artifacts and priceless books and the like, right?
And they did it because there was Tamil stuff in there.
Yes.
And this was the government police that did this.
The government police that did this. Now, this was under J.R. Jayawardena's. This was under J.R. Jayawardena's rule. And
is there anything that these people did not do?
I was gonna say cannibalism, but recently I was. God. I was gonna say cannibalism, but I was corrected on that recently. So no,
they ate motherfuckers. What?
They didn't eat. Okay, to be fair, they didn't eat motherfuckers, but there were reports during. So there were reports of Tamils during Black July being severed, their heads and their limbs being severed, and their body parts being sold on butcher stalls as like Tamil meat.
It's like everything that you mentioned has happened to Tamils in Sri Lanka has happened to black people in the United States. Like they literally did. There's a book. It's called The Delectable Negro. During the slavery period, they literally used to eat us. Or when Nat Turner died, if you know who he is, the the slave rebel in Virginia. After they murdered him, after they executed him, they literally rendered his body down to fat and sold it as medicinal grease. Yeah, this shit is like on par with Israeli barbarism. And like
Hence
I
why I
can't even
say, hence why I say Sri Lanka is the Israel of South Asia.
I can't even maybe it's just because like I'm an American, we've done some pretty brutal, fucked up shit, but in no universe can I fathom cutting a 5-year-old baby's throat. Like that is barbarism. There's no need for that. Like what is
The reason the reason that they did that is that they didn't want to shoot the baby because it would make a lot of noise. That's the reason they went for the throat.
it's a little fucking kid.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be I mean you should be killing people just because of their ethnicity in the first place, but like it's just it's amazing how ideology can turn people into animals, beasts.
Yeah.
Like this is so fucked up. So what would you say like the solution? Because like you said, this struggle is still going on.
Split the country. I mean, split the island. That's the only solution.
You support the partition of Sri Lanka?
1000% I do, yeah.
So
I used to believe in a much more. See, the thing is, I used to believe in a much more. I used to be one of those pie in the guy, like what do you call them? I used to be a lot more idealistic in my approach to were the Tamil rebels ruthless against soldiers because I wouldn't blame them. No, actually, the LTTE were remarkably restrained in most situations. Actually,
yeah, I'm looking at this here. Like honestly, like
the
not,
LTTE was notable for not engaging in sexual violence at all.
Yeah, and they seem very
like the LTTE specifically tried to get rid of caste within the Tamils, the Tamil population, because caste is not conducive to fighting a war of liberation.
And they're really, really generous towards the Sinhalese themselves. Like you figure, oh, these guys are fucking getting blow for blow. No, it says here the Sri Lankan fascist state is the enemy of the oppressed and exploited Sinhalese and Tamil people.
Yeah, you have Tamils today. That's what Tamil nationalists will say. Principal Tamil nationalists will say. They will say, yeah, our enemy is not the Sinhalese person. It is not the exploited Sinhalese person. It is against the Sinhalese Buddhist nationalist state.
Yeah.
That is what they will say.
Yeah. But so your solution to the chaos and problems on the island is basically to turn it into Cyprus. Like you guys get this part, you get this part. Behave yourselves.
I mean, I don't see it as like a Cyprus situation because it's not like, oh, these it's not like an equal thing where like, oh, the Tamils and the Sinhalese are just being chaotic towards each other. It's not like that at all. One side has proven time and time again that it is incapable with living with the other side. And yes, that is exactly my take on this. Yes, the self-determination for the Tamil-speaking people in their traditional homeland would provide a solution to the Tamil national question. Yes, that is my take on this. That is my perspective on this.
It sounds pretty similar to like many proposals like New Africa in the United States, basically African-American people, new African people. We've caught so much shit from this country. You know what? We don't want anything else to do with it. Let's just throw the whole kit and caboodle out and start again on our own territory. Honestly, that's fair. Like from what you've described, like
you've seen a taste of what the Sri Lankan state has gotten away with.
Yeah.
You've seen a taste of what the Sri Lankan state has gotten away with.
Yeah. And
you understand why the Tamils would feel this way.
Yeah, from what I've seen and from what you've told me, there's no living at peace with people that rape corpses and cut 5-year-old kids' throats, man.
Yeah. This is not happening. Self-determination for the Tamils is a priority. Which again, this is something that the majority of Sri Lanka thinks that basically creating the concept of devolved provinces where the Tamils in the north and the east get to basically self-govern right? To a certain degree, even that is too far for them, right? Even that's too far for the southern southern portions of Sri Lanka. Even that's too far. India has different states with and states that have their own different languages,
Mm-hmm.
right? Pakistan has provinces, right? Different subdivisions, right? China has autonomous regions,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, because like when you're under somebody else's thumb, they can do like with black people in the United States, indigenous people, Boricos, Puerto Ricans. Like when you're under the thumb of a settler regime, they could do whatever they want to you, and you have no recourse. Whereas when you have your own autonomous area, your own self defense force, all of that, like you have some type of recourse. That's why there's a very very strong black nationalist movement in the United States because like we're tired of living under the auspices of white people who have demonstrated many, 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 many times throughout the past centuries that they do not give a fuck about us. And as a matter of fact, they see us as nothing more than near free or free labor. That's why they throw so many of us in prison. So I definitely get it. Like when you don't have your own shit, you are at the mercy of whoever is over you. So yeah, I definitely would support this. Like this is what Lenin spoke about when he spoke about the right of nations to self-determination. Nobody wants to be under somebody else's thumb because that sets you up to be abused.
Did the rebels get wiped out? That's what I heard and read and heard. The militancy died out, yes. The militancy got crushed by the Sri Lankan state, yes. But Tamil nationalism never died, right? And the thing is, how do I say it? So every year there are two major commemorations that happen. One is in November, which is Mahavamsa, which is the commemoration for the LTTE fighters that died fighting for a separate Eelam. And then in May, it's May 18th, Mulivaikal Remembrance Day, which is the final day of the Sri Lankan quote unquote civil war, where basically for 5 months between January and May 2009, Tamils were herded into no fire zones, safe zones, surrounding hospitals. Yeah, so in that map you see so those purple areas are safe zones, right? That Tamils were basically herded into, and they were told these are safe zones. Neither the LTTE nor the government were supposed to fire into those safe zones. The government shelled them. They shelled the hospitals, and Tamils were basically pushed into smaller and smaller swaths of land surrounding hospitals, and the hospitals were destroyed. And wow, that's what happened to Palestinians right now. Yeah.
40,000 to 70,000 people died in this.
No. Higher.
Yeah. And then also,
way higher.
Why does it have the Liberation Tigers listed as a perpetrator?
Because there are allegations of the LTTE basically firing at civilians, and using human shields or whatever.
That sounds very familiar.
Yeah, so that's why LTTE are listed as perpetrators. But there's a doctor by the name of Varadaraja Dureraja that was in these no fire zones nursing people to health that came out on a podcast and said in Tamil no, all the stuff about LTTE using human shields and firing at civilians, that shit's bullshit. It was the Sri Lankan army that did that.
Yeah. Jesus. And this is apparently a trend. They love attacking. This is like the fucking Trail of Tears. Like imagine just being shuffled from place to place. Your family's lived on their land for centuries. And now because some asshole ethno-religious cult,
aid was denied, by the way. Aid was denied into these areas.
Aid was very, very, very familiar.
Aid was denied into these areas. The Red Cross was attacked by Sinhalese Buddhist nationalists because they accused the Red Cross of collaborating with the LTTE. They, you had children that were being born with birth defects. If you watch part 2, you get it on the fuck yeah. The fuck you? Who the fuck? Hold on a second. I'll be right back.
You have a guest?
1 second.
The UN Special Panel report
to understand Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka has 4 major ethnic groups: the Sinhalese, the Eelam Tamils, the Muslims, and the Hill or Malayaga Tamils. The Sinhalese comprise the majority of the country at 75% of the population and are concentrated in the southwest and central parts of the country. Their origins are what is now eastern India and Bangladesh. Religion-wise, the Sinhalese are overwhelmingly Theravada Buddhist, with a sizable Roman Catholic Christian minority. The Sinhala language is an Indo-Aryan language, making it cousins of North Indian languages such as Hindi, Bengali, and Punjabi, as well as distant cousins of European languages like English, Spanish, and French. The Tamils are an ethnic group that are native to both southern India and northeastern Sri Lanka. The Eelam Tamils are the Tamils native to the northern and eastern coasts of Sri Lanka and have been there since antiquity. The Tamil language belongs to the independent Dravidian language family and is the Dravidian language with the longest written history, going back to at least 500 BC. The Eelam Tamils are majority Shaivite Hindu, with a significant minority being Christian and a very tiny minority being Buddhist. The Malayaga or Hill Tamils are the descendants of indentured servants from southern India, brought by the British during colonial times to the areas surrounding the city of Kandy to work the tea plantations. Like the Eelam Tamils, their spoken language is Tamil, although the dialect in which they speak is more similar to the Tamil you might hear in India. The Muslims of
I see your room, but it says your devices are not connected. Hold on. Yeah, try to leave and come back.
Sri Lanka are an ethnic group that live all over the island and are primarily defined by the religion.
There you go.
Okay, can you hear me now? Hold on a second.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We're not having a repeat of yesterday.
No, it's okay, because I had a bunch of missionaries knock on my door.
What, were they Mormons?
Yeah.
Are you religious?
No, not at all.
Oh, man, neither am I.
Yeah, I'm not religious.
So, what is the traditional religion of the Tamil people, though?
Shaivism. So, I mean, technically, you would call it Hinduism. You would call it Hindu. I mean, people would call it Hinduism these days, but Tamils. So, the thing you have to understand about Hinduism is it's not one religion, because the religious practices depend entirely on your ethnic group, your caste, so on and so forth. But Tamils are predominantly what you would call Shaivites. They're Shaivites, basically. So they basically practice they say that their ancestor they say that the ancestor of the Tamils. I don't know why I'm saying I'm Tamil. We say that the ancestors of the Tamil group are
You're American. The American has seeped into your brain.
Yeah.
You're no longer Tamil. You're American now.
Yeah. No, so Shaivism is a religious belief that basically says Shiva is like the most important deity, right? And Shiva is considered to be Shiva, and his son in particular Murugan are Murugan. They are considered to be the ancestors of the Tamils.
An indigenous Australian ancestral deity?
Yeah, so Tamils, not Murugan, no, Murug, Muru. Murugan, yeah. Kartikeya, yeah, that's the first one.
Oh.
He goes by different names, but in Tamil we call him Murugan.
It's a nice statue.
That's in Malaysia, actually, because there's lots of Tamils living in Malaysia as well.
Is that real gold?
It might be.
Ooh. He is hailed as the favored god of the Tamils. So basically, y'all's favorite god is the war god.
He's considered to be our ancestor. Basically, he's the ancestor of the Tamils.
Y'all are descended from the war god. Okay.
Yeah, his traditional name before Murugan even, we used to call him Seyon. Seyon means the red one.
I wouldn't fuck with people descended from a war god. So, one question. With the mass rape of Tamil men, has this led to collective trauma in which queer Tamils are sidelined or discriminated for not being a real man?
So the thing is, rape itself is an extremely taboo thing in Tamil culture to begin with. Right? A lot of Tamils are just very conservative. Right? It's a very hush-hush sort of thing. So even talking about rape is kind of considered a taboo. So a lot of people actually don't, whether it be women or men, don't come out and admit to the fact that they were raped because it's considered a taboo topic. So to answer your question, the answer is we don't know actually. I think that's the best way to answer that question. We don't actually know.
Jesus. So that might explain a lot why why a lot of these assholes that did this stuff haven't been brought to justice, along with the fact that the people that did this shit are still in control of the country. But like,
a lot of people are traumatized, and also it's not just the fact that they're traumatized, they're worried that there'll be like here's a great case of it. Here's a great case of this. I'll send you a link to this. 1 second. It's going back to the sexual violence against Tamils in Sri Lanka. There's a particular case I want you to read, and this will give you a great example as to why people don't really come out with this. They don't come out and talk about this. So in 2014, it is going to be the third case. This is 5 years after the war, mind you. It's the third case.
Is that the third case? Oh my God. The Sri Lankan Navy in Karinagar received significant media attention. It was reported that 7 sailors attached to the Karinagar Navy base off the coast of the Jaffna Peninsula abducted 2 girls. Bro.
Keep reading.
Abducted 2 Tamil girls aged 11 and 9 on their way to school in the morning. Did that to them in an abandoned building and released them in the afternoon for 11 consecutive days. Alerted by the school of their child's absence, the parents of the 11-year-old discovered their bleeding child in mentally disturbed condition on 16th of July 2014. The children were admitted to the Jaffna Teaching Hospital, where a medical examination by the judicial medical officer established that I can't read no more of this shit, man. Bro, why?
The rest of it tells you what happened and why, like, there's been no justice. The rest of this paragraph tells you that. Because they
intimidated the girl. Like, she was fucking
scared. They intimidated not just the girl, they intimidated the parents. They basically threatened to kill the parents.
This is the type of shit that happened in the South to black people. Like, this could be the Jim Crow South. And it's just like
a lot of intersection with anti-blackness also, like I mentioned, where the Sinhalese Buddhist nationalists claim to be white. And therefore, by contrast, consider Tamils to be quote-unquote black people in this case.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned earlier. Like, I may not know much about India or Sri Lanka or Bangladesh or neither, but I do know that Tamils tend to be pretty dark. Like, a lot of them are darker than me. And I have no words. I have no words. So yeah, I'm with you. Like you cannot live in peace with people who have dehumanized their fellow human beings to the extent that they think something like that is like yeah. In some cases, you just have to separate and get away from fucked up people like that, man.
Yeah.
I get it. Like black people in the United States, we have our own separatist movement, the provisional government of the Republic of New Africa. Like basically, you know what? We've tried living with these people for 500 years. They don't want shit to do with us. Fuck them. They've they commit crime after crime after crime after crime. They get away with it. They treat us like fucking slaves. They kill us and they get away with it. You know what? Fuck them. Let's get our own shit. I thoroughly understand your perspective now.
Yeah, because you can't like they don't think they did anything wrong. There's never been Nuremberg trials, nothing. People don't know about this. That's the thing. That's the problem.
They literally believe y'all are demons. So
yeah.
A demon you can do whatever to.
Yeah, I mean, there is a guy on Twitter that was going around making jokes about. There's a woman called Priya who is the radio announcer for, or not the radio announcer. She was a news She's a news anchor for a Tamil Eelam like a news network, basically.
I'm surprised to let y'all. I'm surprised to let y'all have y'all on TV.
Well, they didn't. It was basically under the control of the LTTE. So that's why I was able to run, because it ran under the control of the LTTE. They had set up, the LTTE set up basically a quasi state, right? They
so the LTT, like they had their own base area, liberated zone, all that.
Yeah, I mean the LTTE is probably one of the most successful militant groups on the planet. For as long as it existed, it had an air force and it had a navy as well.
Like an air force with real jets that can bomb shit?
They got whatever they could procure on the black market, but they also had like submarines and stuff. Yeah.
Ooh.
And they also had, gunboats. They had, they were basically as close to a conventional army as you could get, to a conventional military as you could get. And in particular, they had a unit of people. Wait, how did they get crushed? Here's the kicker. Everyone sold weapons to Sri Lanka. Every major country you've heard of sold weapons to Sri Lanka and helped Sri Lanka, basically. So
by Sri Lanka, you mean the government of Sri Lanka?
The government of Sri Lanka, yes. I'll give you a list of countries that sold weapons. All right, you ready for this? United States, UK,
of course,
Czechoslovakia,
of course,
Czech Republic and Slovakia, Spain,
of course,
India,
of course,
Pakistan,
of course,
Iran.
The Axis of Resistance, how dare they?
Iran,
Boo.
China,
boo. Social imperialist revisionist scum.
Who else? Russia, Ukraine, both of them.
New Africa didn't.
New Africa absolutely did not. They did not. Bulgaria did. Bulgaria did. Lithuania did. Poland did. Germany did. Argentina did. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, DPRK also did.
Of course.
So they all needed weapons to sell.
They must have needed some hard currency.
Yeah, the whole world did. Yeah. And on top of that, the Cuba support was the biggest betrayal because the Tamil militants adored Castro. So Cuba, as far as I know, didn't actually sell weapons to Sri Lanka, but they voiced their support for Sri Lankan, for the Sri Lankan state.
So basically, nobody fucked with y'all.
Nobody did. Only the PFLP. Only the PFLP did.
That's why I will forever love them. Well, that's one of the many reasons why I will forever love them.
PFLP are the only ones that ever fucked with the LTTE. That's it.
Yeah, Fidel fucked off. Fidel, I love the man, but as he got older and as Cuba got more and more ossified, especially during the special period, Like he just started like he fucked over everybody. Like this guy was a global hero to the oppressed everywhere, not just in Tamil Eelam, but like in New Africa, everywhere. Of course, the DPRK, of course, they do that weird shit. But like, yeah, like just reading about what Fidel Castro did, he fucked over a lot of people.
PKK, yes, the Kurds are also another they're the other major supporter of Tamil Eelam. Yes, PKK.
So basically, like no state fuck with y'all.
Yeah, yeah. No major state no state fucked with the Tamils whatsoever. None of them did.
Well, if we had had New Africa, we would have fucked with you, but unfortunately, we did not.
I mean, this is the situation that the Tamils are in. There's a guy. I mean, the reason for all this is that Sri Lanka is in the middle of the Indian Ocean.
Very strategic.
Did Gaddafi send weapons to Tamils? No, Gaddafi also supported Sri Lanka.
That he sent weapons to the IRA though.
I don't ask.
The dude even gave money. He even gave money to the Nation of Islam.
Gaddafi was a huge supporter of Mahinda Rajapaksa, who was the Benjamin Netanyahu of Sri Lanka.
Jesus, Gaddafi was a weirdo. I get why leftists like glaze him, but like when you actually read his ideology, he was fucking insane. It doesn't mean he needed to be sodomized with the bayonet and lynched and his country driven back into the desperate annals of slavery. But like, yeah, Gaddafi was a fucking weirdo. He also sheltered Idi Amin until he got tired of him and kicked him out the country.
What the hell? This is insane. Yeah. Speaking of the IRA, by the way, the STF, the Special Task Force, actually hired a bunch of paramilitary dudes coming from. They hired a bunch of paramilitary dudes coming that served in the Special Air Services, Special SAS, the British SAS, that served in South Armagh during the Troubles. So they got counterinsurgents from the British that served in Northern Ireland against the IRA to fight against the Tamils.
Yeah, the Brits did invent counterinsurgency, so apparently the Sri Lankan government.
This is 200 years of Bashana Bewardhana basically says this is 200 years of British counterinsurgency. The fight, the counterinsurgency against the Tamil struggle.
Yeah. This has been a very, very enlightening, but also simultaneously a very, very depressing learning experience.
Yeah, it usually is that way.
Ugh. Yeah, I imagine like when you engage in this conversation with somebody that doesn't know anything about this, like I imagine like just their face just gradually just droops and drops because like nobody besides a psychopath can listen to shit like this and read shit like this without feeling some type of way. Like you've made me fucking hate the Sri Lankan government. And like before talking to you, like before you hopped on my stream with Arjun, like I knew that there was like a war. I knew that there were Maoists in Sri Lanka. I knew that there was a national liberation movement in Sri Lanka, but I did not know that it was like this deep rooted and this fucked up and this bad.
What's stopping another war from happening? Because what's stopping another war from happening is the biggest example. I mean, what happened in 2009 is probably the biggest one, if I'm going to be honest, because Sri Lanka got away with basically the same genocide that you're seeing in Gaza, except the entire world agreed to it. The entire world basically signed off on it. So that's kind of the situation that the Tamils are in. They're currently fighting to basically get any spotlight on this whatsoever.
So,
and no one wants to give it to them. It's ridiculous.
My question is, like, everybody knows about Gaza, which happened in Palestine, but why don't people, like, why isn't this everywhere? Like, why isn't this everywhere, like what's happening in Gaza?
Well, I mean, one probably big reason is that TikTok didn't exist back then. And Twitter wasn't as big. I mean, it was big back then, but it just wasn't capable of handling this kind of video, as far as I know, back in 2009. So you couldn't post like shorts or reels or whatever. Instagram Reels is also relatively recent as well. But it's definitely not on the like the Tamils meticulously documented their genocide at the hands of the Sri Lankan state for decades. I think one of the reasons that it never got picked up in the first place is because the Tamil liberation struggle 100% threatens everyone's capital interest in Sri Lanka. So it's better that people don't raise a ruckus about the Tamils at all, because it would mean threatening their relationship with their relationship with Sri Lanka.
Yeah, don't nobody want to fuck their money up.
They don't want to fuck up the bag.
It's the same reason. It's the same reason the Chinese haven't come out hard against Israel, because like that's their bag.
Exactly. But the thing is, everyone has a bag in Sri Lanka. In fact, John Kerry admitted as much in 2009. Actually, shortly thereafter, he quite literally said in one of his reports that we cannot afford to lose Sri Lanka by raising concerns of human rights. Yeah. And this is when Hillary Clinton was more willing to be like, all right, Sri Lanka, you guys are bad, and tisk tisk, whatever, right? So John Kerry was like, no, that's actually a very bad idea. You would fuck up the bag for all of us. Shut the fuck up. And then the only reason that the US and the UK were even inclined to do such a thing in the first place was that the guy that was in power, Mahinda Rajapaksa, that basically did all these war crimes and committed the Mulivaikal massacres / genocide, is like, he postures as being an anti-imperialist. He postures as being an anti-colonial sort of guy. And he was more openly hostile, quote unquote, more openly hostile to the US. And he aligned himself, quote unquote, more with China. It's all posturing, because his entire family are American citizens. It's posturing. It's posturing about being anti-American. His entire family are Americans.
Dude probably owns a fucking house in Vegas and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where he lives, and I don't give a shit where he lives, but yeah, his brother had American citizenship until 2019, by the way. So 10 years after.
Was his citizenship revoked?
No, he gave it up because his brother became president.
Oh.
And he had to give it up.
So if you become president, you can't be a citizen of a foreign country or something?
Yeah.
Oh, your family can't?
No, he became president. His brother became president.
Oh, okay.
His brother that held the U.S. citizenship became president in 2019. Gotabaya Rajapaksa. And this guy was the defense secretary during 2005 to 2009.
Yeah. Like, this is the thing. Like, all these dictators and shit, like, they all have, like, houses and shit where they can flee to if the people finally get tired of this shit. Like, Ferdinand Marcos, he moved, when they chased him out of the Philippines, he came to fucking Hawaii. Like, they all have, like, bank accounts and houses and shit. Some of them have, like, American passports so that they can flee in a hurry.
Another reason that I've noticed that this doesn't get as much attention is that the left broadly seems to just blanketly support Sri Lanka.
You mean like the left and the West?
Well, the left in the subcontinent, for one. So the Indian leftist parties, the Pakistani leftist parties. When JVP, the Social Fascist Party, the Labour Zionist Party, won in Sri Lanka in 2024, all the major Indian Communist parties, Pakistani Communist parties, Bangladeshi Communist parties, all voiced their congratulations and support for it. Vijay Prashad.
Even my boys, the Maoists?
Huh?
Even my boys, the Maoists? They're like,
no,
yay.
I don't think, actually, no. I think the Maoists and those that are affiliated with the Maoists said no. We don't fuck with Sri Lanka. Okay. So
that's a beacon of hope.
Yeah, a beacon of hope. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you don't like Maoists, but it's a beacon of hope.
Yeah. But then you also had like intellectuals in general. I mean, this Vijay Prashad is a great example of this. He was basically vacationing in Sri Lanka and was like, and he knows better, by the way. He's written articles on Sri Lanka's military occupation of the Tamils as well. And he wrote a Twitter post 10 years ago or something saying, I could live in Sri Lanka forever. And then there's a Tamil dude below him. Doesn't Tamil Nadu have a leftist government, or is it leftist? Sock them.
I think you're thinking about Kerala, which is basically social
Kerala.
fascist as well. Yeah. Which is
Kerala,
basically that's run by the CPI Marxists, which is basically social fascist. If I recall
CPIM
correctly,
is based. I mean, the thing with communist parties in India is that they're Brahminical parties.
Yeah.
That they're all Brahminical parties. So it doesn't like the guy. I mean, so who actually has beef with Sri Lanka? Who has beef with Sri Lanka that has a big that is a big entity? Even Tamil Nadu. This is the sad part about Tamil Nadu. The current Tamil Nadu government is run by the Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam, DMK.
that sounds like a weapon.
You're confused because our chief minister is named Stalin. That's our chief minister. Our leader, the leader of our current state, is named Stalin. That's why you probably think that.
Were his parents communists or something?
It's like it's the same old like anti-colonial, like, bro, we like Stalin, we like Marx, we're from the global south. It's like the thing you have to understand is that in places like India and Pakistan, so on and so forth, like there is no Red Scare. Like communism isn't like automatically deemed as like, oh, you're a communist, like it is in America.
Unlike the U.S., where they call Zoran Mandani, who was literally the definition of a European-style sock them, a communist. What do you think of Zoran, by the way? Do you like him?
Yeah, I mean, he's cool. Like, like I don't like. He's better than the other options. Like,
yeah
like
Cuomo and Eric Adams is actually like. I would definitely listen to a podcast with him and Lori Lightfoot. But in terms of governance, yeah, he's horrible.
Eric Adams is a very fascinating guy in general. He's a character.
He has he probably knows more about Eastern Europe and Turkey than any other American politician. Like he literally was marching with the Albanians at their fucking parade.
Yeah, he is the Ottoman Empire secret agent.
He's he's the fucking. They had like a white eunuch and a black eunuch. Eric Adams is the black eunuch, the keeper of the harem. Bashi Bazook, Eric Adams.
Yeah, but like I have no problem with Zoran Mamdani. Like I like him. He's good for what he is. He's a New York mayoral candidate, and he's gonna bring good reforms to New York. That's my opinion of him.
Yeah. So where would you? I've always been curious about this. Like, where would you place yourself politically? Like, you're communist,
anarchist.
Really?
Anarchist, 100%.
You're an anarchist. Okay. Are you a DSA member?
I am not a DSA member.
You should join DSA. We can be comrades for real.
I know people in the DSA, and they've invited me to do things at the DSA.
Do it. We need more content creators. We need more documentary makers. We need more people who like go hard for their people. We need more colonized people. We need more people with a decolonial viewpoint. We need more people from the global south. Do it.
Wait, when you said Russia supports Sri Lanka, did you mean USSR also? No, USSR, they supported the JVP during the insurrections. And the JVP are basically sin buds with communist aesthetics. They're Nazis with communist aesthetics. Right?
Yeah.
But Russia literally, but when I'm talking about Russia supporting Sri Lanka, I'm talking about Russian Federation.
Yeah.
So both iterations also sucked on this.
Yeah, the USSR after the 1960s was basically an endless parade of L's until it collapsed, anyways.
The USSR collapse led to India basically scrambling to become a market economy.
Yeah, and it also fucked Cuba up so bad that they had to do the same in miniature. They did make some really, really cool innovations in hydroponics out of necessity, though. But that's also what happens when you're under sanctions and your biggest trading partner collapses. A similar thing happened in North Korea.
Exactly.
That's why
I mean, Mongolia is also hurting because the USSR collapsed.
Yeah, and like it was kind of like it's kind of our fault because we should have had more socialist revolutions so that there would have been an easier way to diversify. But a lot of these countries, and they hitched their wagon onto the USSR, not thinking that it would collapse. I mean, Huey Newton predicted the collapse of the USSR in 1971. But
The thing is, like, this the funny thing is, this is actually the issue that radicalized me the most. The Tamil genocide, Tamil liberation. This is what radicalized me the most. And seeing the level of complicity that every state, engaged in with regards to this, basically made me realize that, well, fuck, there's absolutely no one coming to help. So we just got to do things on our own. And I mean, this is not necessarily in line with what anarchist theory actually states, so on and so forth. But it's what fostered my skepticism in governments and states in general is just this. It's this issue alone. It's that because of the way the global neoliberal capitalist economy works, there is no one that will want to fuck up their state interests with regards to this particular country.
Yeah, like you said earlier, nobody wants to fuck up their bag. Like this, you see the same dynamic happening. Like people keep like, "Where's China? Why is it China?" Just like how China did not intervene on behalf of Iran when it was getting attacked by both Zionists and Americans, because this is like there is no more real proletarian internationalism except in very very sporadic cases. Like it's not the '60s, it's not the early '70s anymore. Like Maoist China literally built a free railroad in Tanzania. Nowadays, they're gonna make you pay for that shit some way or another. So
Yeah.
a lot of people they fall into the rabbit hole. They still think that shit is like it was back in the day. It's not like back in the day because it ain't back in the day no more. Everybody's out for themselves. Everybody's out for money. Get money. That's the slogan of the 21st century. It sucks, but until we have a new wave of global revolutions, that's the context in which these states are going to operate. Like the PRC does not give a fuck about you. They give a fuck about your resources. Like, why hasn't the PRC helped Palestine? Because they look at it like, okay, what do the Palestinians have to give us? That's what they're looking at it. That's what they're looking at it like. Yeah, they'll drop a few little.
They care mostly about their state interests. That's it.
Yeah,
that's how states operate. They care about their state interests.
And
that's the reason that India actually flip flopped on this. So India actually trained the Tamil militants to begin with, right? In the 80s.
Did they have beef with Sri Lanka or something?
Yeah. So India was allied with the Soviet Union at this point in time, and Sri Lanka was allied under J.R. Jayawardena with the U.S. at this point in time. The U.S. had just what?
So it was like basically like trying to rig up a little proxy war type situation.
I wouldn't say proxy war, but so long story short, it's not a proxy war in that kind of sense because like it's very minimal. Like the US basically set up a Voice of America radio tower in Sri Lanka to basically spy on India and the Soviets. And India obviously didn't like this. So basically what they did was they trained the Tamil militants as a pressure tactic against Sri Lanka. And so when the Indian government basically saw no further use for the Tamil militants and, signed the Indo-Lanka Accord, India was never interested. Like a lot of people say, well, even in my video, in my documentary, I say, well, this is a pacifying tactic that India used on its Tamil population, just to be like, hey, bro, we're also pro-Tamils as well. It's less that and more... It's more the fact that India wanted to pressure Sri Lanka by training these militants in the first place. And once they no longer saw any use for these militants, they basically turned on they made all of the militants surrender. The LTTE refused to surrender to India because they knew what India was all about. And basically India went in, they sent their peacekeeping forces in to Jaffna, to Eelam basically. And they committed war crimes against the Tamils. Like they shot up a hospital. They would literally, there's an entire section of a Wikipedia page on the Indian peacekeeping forces just on the war crimes that they committed against the Tamils. Here, let me show you this. So India is the other country that also committed war crimes against Sri Lanka. Against the Tamils.
Have y'all in the last like few decades ever been able to get a fucking break?
No.
Like
I mean,
everybody.
not my people, because I'm not Eelam Tamil for the record. I'm Indian Tamil.
Okay.
It's actually so technically it's my home government that's responsible for this shit.
Eesh. So this is where you're from.
Tamil Nadu, yeah. That's where I'm from.
Ooh.
That's Tanjore. This is Kanyakumari.
It's pretty temple.
Pamba and Nilagiri is like in the western part of Tamil Nadu state. And that's our logo. That's it. That's where I'm from.
It's pretty. I should go someday.
Do you love Kerala? Malayalis are our brothers. Of course we do. We love Kerala. Malayalis are like, okay, so the majority of Kerala, which are Malayalis, they're basically our closest linguistic cousins. They're basically like, if they're like Spanish and Portuguese, basically. We're the Spaniards, they're the Portuguese, basically. In that sense. We are very closely linguistically related to each other.
You know, the average American is not aware of like the fact that India has dozens of different ethnic groups. They just think Indian. Okay, you're India from Indian. They don't even know like Tamil or Gujarati or I would guarantee you that most Americans think that Zoran Mamdani is an Arab.
India killed up to 14,000 people during their occupation. Yes. They went in and occupied Eelam, and they killed 14,000 Tamils.
My God.
So India is like the second most responsible for this. If there's another country that was second most responsible, it's India.
What is wrong with these fucking people, man?
The thing is, the majority of the Indian peacekeeping forces that were sent to Sri Lanka, or Eelam actually, not just Eelam specifically, what's doing me is that Sri Lanka doesn't like Israel, but they act worse than them. So here's the thing. Okay, now here's the thing that you're gonna learn. So first off, the government, their position on Israel depends entirely on who's running the country, right? And ultimately, they also have a relationship with Israel. They just sent a bunch of workers, domestic workers, to Israel. So they're also not going to fuck up the bag either. Bimal Ratanaika, who's a government minister, just said, well, we can't afford to fuck up the bag by, not sending workers to Israel. But the thing is, so most Sri Lankans will basically say they're anti-Israel, they're pro-Palestine because it makes them look good to be pro-Palestinian. It's this sort of anti-colonialism of like, no, you don't understand, guys. We're the poor Palestinians that are being caught. They'll actually do this weird thing. They'll do this very stupid thing where they say, no, the LTTE are the Zionists. No, the Tamils are the Israelis. They're the Zionists. We are trying to stop ourselves from being colonized by the Tamils. Now, I just laid stuff out for you very candidly. I just laid out a bunch of evidence for you very candidly and told you, like, this is what the Sri Lankan government did. This is what the army did. Now, anyone that is confronted with this evidence will immediately say, what the fuck are you talking about? On what planet are you the fucking Palestinians? The fuck are you talking about? On what country are you? On what planet are you the oppressed people in this equation? Right? But they try and pull this talking point, and it's ridiculous. Right? But unfortunately, because a lot of people are ignorant and uneducated on this, they're not educated on this, that talking point works. A lot of people don't know what kind of atrocities, what kind of genocidal country Sri Lanka is. They don't understand it, right? So that talking point works. You have basically people like Indi Samarajiva, who was basically, yeah, a lot of leftists would fall for it. Yeah, and I have seen a lot of leftists fall for this. I have seen a lot of people fall for this.
That's the most irritating thing about leftists, to be honest. Like, not everybody that makes anti-American or progressive sounding noise is progressive. Like in this case, you literally have people that are talking to shit just to cover up their own crimes. Like you said, make themselves look good. So like it's hypocrisy. You're talking about, oh yes, we condemn such and such, whereas you did the exact same towards your own oppressed population. Like you literally have an oppressed nationality in your own country that you treat like garbage. And I can't stand shit like that. And
Yeah.
like Mao said, no investigation, no right to speak. Like people that don't know shit about this area of the world, they just see a TikTok video or some shit on Twitter, and now they're automatically experts. And you're standing shit you don't know anything about. That's why conversations like this are important. Because, like I said, I didn't know anything about. I mean, I knew, like I said, I knew that there had been fighting there, that a lot of people died, but I did not know the extent of what happened there.
I mean,
So
to be fair, you still don't. I can't tell you the extent in like one stream. That's the thing.
that is also true. But I know more. We know more than we
You
did
know more about it
before.
now than you did earlier.
Yeah,
Like
because I know, like,
that's the thing that I'm trying to get across. Like that's the level of depravity that this, like I can't possibly summarize it to you in one stream.
yeah. Also, quite a few of my buddies at DSA are big fans of yours. By the way, they're in my fucking Discord, like trying to get people onto the stream and telling them to watch your documentary. I think we might do in my caucus. I think we might do it like.
Do you know a guy called Good Vibe Politic?
Jeff,
James?
good
Yeah.
buddy. Yeah,
Yeah.
good dude.
Yeah. Reached out to
Yeah,
him.
he's out of Philly. But yeah, I think we might in Liberation Caucus do like a movie night as we do those for grief stricken wins. And
That would be
like,
good. That'd be really
yeah,
good. I've been trying to get
yeah,
this in front of people.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
the whole point of this is to basically, the whole point of the documentary is basically just to, is not a super comprehensive history of everything that happened on the island. There's lots of nuance that I've had to basically throw out for the sake. It's just meant to be enough to radicalize people, to be like, hey, okay, whoa, what the fuck did this country do? What is this? What is going on here? Right? And at the end of at least part 2, this shit's supposed to piss you off. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
It's supposed to piss you off.
So after we're pissed off, after the American left is pissed off and they know to some extent what has happened, like what would you, as an activist around this issue, like what would you
reach out to Tamil organizations, reach out to people like, Pearl Action or any of the Tamil organizations in Canada, especially Canada. Canada would be a great place to start because there's a lot of Eelam Tamils there. And whenever they're doing like protests, work with them on that.
Okay.
That would be sick. That would actually be really, really sick.
Yeah.
Or do demonstrations on your own, because I think that's what I wanted. I mean, I don't think that demonstrations and protests and a lot of this is I don't think like the simple protests and demonstrations are gonna solve everything, but it's a step forward in the right direction. It's a step better than what we have now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important.
Do you think something similar to the BDS movement would be beneficial?
There is a BDS. I think Tamil Gorilla probably has a link to the BDS if he has it. There is a BDS for Sri Lanka. There is BDS, but the biggest form of BDS you can do is just don't go there. Don't go there.
I can't afford to go there.
Good. Okay. Well, automatically doing boycott, easy. That's the easiest. It's the easiest boycott to do. Because
that's a fucking $1,500 flight. I can't afford to go fly out to no fucking Sri Lanka.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Done. You're boycotting already. Part of the team, right?
Yay.
Yeah. No, it's because they make their Sri Lanka subsists on tourism. Sri
Tourism
Lanka's
and
entire economy is basically entirely dependent on tourism, basically.
what happened to the tea plantations?
They don't, I mean, they don't make as much money as tourism does.
Mhm.
Right? And also the thing is, a lot of the other reason that you shouldn't go there is because a lot of the hotels on the island are run by the army directly.
Wait, what? You got army hotels? Those are called barracks, aren't they?
No, they're civilian hotels run by the army.
What? Yeah. Well, yeah. Now I really need to stay off. Now I really need to stay off the island because they're gonna find out I talked to you, and then I'm gonna be in fucking trouble.
Yeah, they have arrested Tamils in white vans and disappeared them. So
Yeah.
the other reason that the occupation is going, and I was talking to my Eelam Tamil friend about this as well, is that there's a open kind of secret or rumor within the Tamil community that a good chunk of the army camps and the hotels and all the stuff, the military matrices that the army runs in Eelam, in the Tamil dominated lands, right? They also house mass graves, like Semani, basically the Semani mass grave. So that's one of the reasons that Sri Lanka doesn't want to end its occupation, because they would uncover more remains.
Yeah. Whereas if it's so they want to basically sit on these camps to prevent like people from going there afterwards and finding out, oh, this is what happened to my uncle.
Yeah.
Eesh. It's fucking horrible, man.
Yeah, I think more people need to talk about this. I feel like this is a huge story. I think the Semani mass graves that you were talking about yesterday, that's a huge story that's not being talked about, in my opinion. It needs to be talked about more. People need to bring this up. I think I think it's important to bring this up because Israel is basically doing the same thing that Sri Lanka has done and has gotten away with, right? And Sri Lanka basically gives you a glimpse into what Israel will look like. I mean, the thing with Sri Lanka is that in the Tamil liberation struggle is that it is its own struggle, and they deserve self-determination. They deserve separate Eelam, 100%, right? It is its own struggle. That's the one thing that I want to say, right? But they also have hotels on martyr cemeteries, yes. They also built hotels on the cemeteries of LTTE fighters, LTTE cadres. They mowed down LTTE cemeteries, like LTTE, like martyr cemeteries, and they fucking built hotels on top of that shit.
That shit is. Don't they know that shit is cursed now? You want to go stay? You want to go stay in a cursed hotel?
Well, I don't know whether a curse can affect a demon. You know what I mean? I don't know if curses really affect demons, to be fair. So
is there anything that you want to like wrap up with? We're pushing 2.5 hours, but
I mean, obviously, more attention needs to be paid to Sri Lanka, Eelam. People need to spread the word around. I will say this: I may be doing something with the DSA later this month.
Okay, hit me up.
I will keep you in the loop, but I may be doing something later with the DSA later this month.
Also, check out the International Committee if you haven't heard of it already.
Yeah, I think those are the guys that are. I'm not going to say too much. I will let you know.
Comrade has very, very good security culture. But anytime, Maroon, thank you for coming on.
100.
And thank you for being a firm advocate around this issue and a firm organizer around this issue and a firm propagandist around this issue. Because, like you said,
you should recommend literature that explains the Tamil liberation struggle. Hold on, you have like a set of links, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on, let me pull them
on Marxist.org.
Not just Marxist.org. I shared Tamil Guerrillas stuff with there's a Discord that is talking about all these different liberation struggles like Eelam, Kashmir, Balochistan, Kurdistan, so on and so forth, right?
Wait, so are you and Tamil Gorilla friends now? I thought y'all hated each other.
We have differences of opinion, so
Yes,
that's
he's at least y'all are being civil. Like you started out saying, "Why are you talking to this guy?" And now you guys are like talking to each other. It's so cute.
yeah. Here you go. Here's his list. Here,
Maoists in general tend to be like just aggro for no reason.
here you go. Here's his link. Here's his link tree. Highly recommend you share that with people.
Oh, yeah, and yeah. That's my main critique of Maoists. A lot of it just tend to be aggro and confrontational for no reason.
Highly recommend you share that. If you guys want theory, that's good. My personal opinion is that I just go based off of reading the geopolitics and all of that stuff. But
All right, well, if
you're into reading stuff, if you like reading that sort of stuff, then this is like he has an entire compilation of like different resources by Anton Balasingham, by there's also Massacres of Tamils, which is a huge book. There's also Still Counting the Dead, which is a great book by Francis Harrison, which gives you a great idea of what happened in 2009. ITJP is another good resource, International Truth and Justice Project. There's one of the things listed here is a report by ITJP, Valvetiture Massacre, which is a massacre that the Indian peacekeeping forces were responsible for.
Holy shit, this is a lot of books. This is a lot of books. Also, I linked the documentary as well because people really need to watch that. It's a good intro, like you said, but I'm a book worshiper.
What ideology was the TLD? What do you mean the LTTE? I mean the Tamil Tigers, or I don't know what TLD is. Yeah, the LTTE. Yeah, so they were a Tamil nationalist. That's the best way of describing what they were. They were a Tamil nationalist.
So they were kind of like, I guess, the IRA that was ideologically eclectic. Like some people, there were Maoists in the IRA. They, I believe, it was the South Armagh Brigade. Like they literally tried to establish a protracted People's War in Ireland. They were actually pretty successful, but yeah, they ended up getting killed. But no, not the South Armagh, the fucking South Tyrone. So this is the thing with fucking Ulster. Everything is South. South Tyrone Brigade. No, East Tyrone. Jesus Christ. Ireland needs to name their shit better. Yeah. I try to let people know this. And it's like, yeah. The East Tyrone Brigade. But yeah, they got in a bit of trouble, but they were pretty successful. So yeah. That's the thing with a lot of nationalist movements. Like a lot of people that try to put them in a particular box, but I've been holding the same cigarette for a half hour. But like most of these movements are very the Irish Citizens Army. But most of these movements are like very ideologically eclectic because the people that are joining them, if your goal is to liberate your homeland, that's the first and foremost.
Exactly.
Like there's going to be like even within the Black Liberation Movement, you've got Maoists, you've got anarchists, Black anarchists, you've you even got Trots. CLR James was a Trotskyist, but he also
actually I know a bunch of anarchata folks.
Oh yeah, I love anarchists.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the only anarchism I take seriously, to be honest. But a lot of the Black anarchists also have a heritage in the Black Panther Party.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm aware.
Yeah, because Huey came out and he basically started acting like basically a mini tyrant, and they were like, you know what, this was a bastardization of democratic centralism, and yeah, we're anarchists now. One that I really like in particular is elder comrade Lorenzo Kumwa Urban, if you ever heard of him.
Yep, I've heard of him. Big fan of his. I'm also a fan of Ashanti Alston.
Okay. Kouassi Balagoon.
Yep.
Yeah. See, I'm gonna have to have you back on. We're gonna have to chop it up.
Yeah, I mean, I I read theory a lot more than people give me credit for.
But they think that you're just a stream. The people you think that they think that you're just a fucking streamer and a documentary maker. No, you're smart. People say the same about me. They're like, "Oh, he's just a streamer." What is it? Like, bro, do you
No,
see the
I am
fucking?
just. I mean, I will openly admit I'm a fucking dumbass. I'm 100% a dumbass.
That's a sign that you're not a dumbass. It's a dumbass that is the real dumbass is somebody that thinks that they know things that they don't. But like, look at these fucking. Like, I have a giant fucking stack of books. Like, I'm more than a fucking streamer, bro. I was reading before I like literally started doing Twitch and stuff like that. But yeah, what do you know? Well, it was good having you on, Arun. You are welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
Maybe next
Appreciate
time we
it.
can talk.
As
Maybe
always,
next time. Yeah, maybe next time we can talk about Arakata.
Yeah,
Arakata
100%.
shit. Or your dreams of a liberated Tamil Eelam.
100%. Agreed. Thank you
right.
so much.
No problem. Anytime. All right, comrades. I will see y'all later.